Well, welcome into another edition of Talkin Ducks. This week's episode brought to you by viruses. Why my children were so kind to cover the slippers they got me for Christmas with wrapping paper, they did not cover their coughs right in my face. So, fellas, I am chugging the tea during this episode and essentially taping up the ankle, going out there and giving it an honest attempt here. So I might be leaning on y'all a little bit more, but we welcome the crew, George Wrighster, Aaron Fentress, and of course, Anthony Newman. And guys, it's game week. It's hard to believe it's here, the Orange Bowl, Texas Tech versus Oregon, and kind of snuck up on us here because you go through such a long break since Oregon's home playoff win against James Madison. But now that we're here and you've got this titanic matchup, I guess just to start with this, Aaron, you're there on site essentially. What's been the vibe so far? Your thoughts as Oregon comes in as a 2.5-point favorite against the number 4 ranked Texas Tech Red Raiders that'll be playing their first game since the Big 12 title game several weeks ago.
Yeah, well, really not much to report on the vibe scene. I went from the airport to the hotel, and I've been trapped in the hotel. I did even go to where the teams arrived today. James Crepea went to that. I guess it was kind of cool. I wasn't there. But tomorrow's media day. I'm looking forward to that. So see what both teams have to say about this matchup. But I'm excited for this. I feel like it's been a while since we've had a big game like this. And I guess UW was kind of big, but Indiana was the biggest game, so far this season until now. So I'm pumped up for this on Thursday.
And Anthony, the new ball coach, by the way, congratulations. First time seeing you since
Thank you.
that.
Appreciate it.
Now that you've got the lens of a head coach, I mean, this is offense versus defense, my friend. This is one of the stingiest defensive units in the country in Texas Tech versus Oregon that many people feel is one of the highest powered offenses. I mean, what a balance of what we're going to see between two teams that played very close in Lubbock a couple years ago.
Well, as a head coach, yes, I'm very excited for this matchup. As a defensive coordinator, because I'm still calling the defense, by the way, I'm really excited to watch this game. Red Raiders and their defense, their front seven, it's unbelievable. I mean, these guys can play football. They can run. They're aggressive. They'll do different fronts, show you different fronts. And then Oregon's defense, you got a front seven there that can get after the quarterback. You got corners that can cover receivers. So I like it for it to be a defensive game. I know people don't want to see that kind of game, a 6-3 type of game. It's very boring for most people, but I like that type of game because you're playing defense. Finally, somebody's playing defense. Defense wins championships.
And George, I'm going to throw something your way here and tag it with whatever you want to. I think when you look at each program, this is such an intriguing matchup because this is Dan Lanning and the Ducks trying to get the heights that he hasn't brought this team to quite yet, but they've been on the doorstep if they can get to the semifinal matchup. For Texas Tech, you might argue this is their biggest game in school history. And it's almost, I was using the line with Aaron, Oregon's kind of the old school new money, and Texas Tech is the new school new money in the NIL era. And this is really a convergent point for both these programs as far as what this game means moving forward for their teams.
Oh, for Oregon, this is one of them where you got to stick your hand down and be like, nope, sorry. I was here in line first, sir. You cannot cut the line. Get behind us and take your turn. It's one of those, because if you're Oregon, you cannot lose to Texas Tech. And there's no disparagement to them as a program, no disparagement to anything, but you're further along than they are. You've gone through a lot of the trials and tribulations. You have earned your keep, and they are now the Johnny come lately. They are what Oregon was. And so, but in this new NIL and transfer portal era, you can actually accelerate the process. But I do think that there is still some, like some of the things that you have to go to and go through to be able to win big games like this and to win championships. But when I look at this game, I'm looking at it, I'm like, okay, Texas Tech has blown everybody out except the game that they lost without their quarterback Barron Moore into Arizona State by 20 points or more. Then I look at their schedule, and I'm like, hold up. Oregon is the best team that they have played by far.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Texas Tech is going to be the second best team that Oregon has played because they played Indiana.
Yep.
And this is going to be like defense versus defense. And then it's going to come down to which offense do you trust the most? And I like Dante Moore over Baron Morton. I like the running backs over Dickey and the other kid. And I like the wide receivers better. So, so I think that this is an advantage for Oregon in a lot of spots. And yes, that's no disparagement to Bailey, who's leading the nation in sacks, and the rest of his defense, because they've caused a lot of turnovers. They're plus 17 on the year in turnovers. So this is a formidable defense, but I do believe that Oregon is primed and ready for a moment like this.
It's such a good point. And at times, I know you guys have kids and grandkids, and you almost feel like, is this Lighton McQueen trying to hold off Jackson Storm here? Is they're getting ready to face off against each other?
There's no grandkids. No grandkids. Hold up. We're not there yet.
I said something.
Hold up now.
I don't have any information you're not privy to, by the way, Anthony. So don't worry. That's not me breaking it to you, my friend. But
I'm the one with the grandbaby right there. Little
Anthony,
Chloe right there.
I'm going to have you think about the defensive matchup here in a little bit, because, Aaron, I want to go a little bit off of what George just said here. Texas Tech is the second best team Oregon will have played this year. Oregon will be the best team Texas Tech has played. But let's look at both sides of the ball. Is it fair to say this Texas Tech defense will be the best defense Oregon has faced all season? And clearly for Texas Tech, is this the best offense? And let's start with the Oregon offense here, Aaron. Is this the best defense the Ducks are facing this year? And where do you see them possibly having an advantage in this game, or being able to move the football when so many teams have struggled to do that against Texas Tech?
Well, Texas Tech and Indiana both rank very highly and very comparably in almost every major category. So I don't know which one's necessarily the best. All I know is that Indiana went into Austin Stadium and shut down the Ducks, sacked Moore 6 times, held them to 13 offensive points. Yes, they probably could have stuck with the run more, and they didn't, and that cost the Ducks. But still, that was an impressive performance by Indiana, and their defense hasn't let up. Now, Oregon learned some lessons in that game. Moore said he learned a lot. Obviously, everyone talked about the sim pressures that Indiana was running that were confusing the Ducks offensive line, and Moore, who maybe missed some guys open because he felt rushed when maybe he shouldn't have been. And that's fine. You grow and you learn from those things, and that's all well and good. But this Texas Tech defense is pretty nasty. And so they're going to put him through another test similar to that first one. And Dante hasn't really had one like that since then. So has he learned enough in the 6 or 7 games since then to overcome that on Thursday? I think maybe. I think possibly, especially if they get the run game going. But that is going to be a pretty dicey situation, because if they feel like they can rattle more, the Ducks will be in trouble.
I do want to know from you, Anthony, when you look at this Texas Tech defense, is Oregon prepared to handle this? And then defensively for Oregon, what do they have to do? Because it feels like if there's one group of the ball that might have the biggest advantage over another in this game, it could be the Oregon defense over the Texas Tech offense. That's not taking anything away from the Red Raiders offense. It's just Oregon's offense is that good against a very good Texas Tech defense. You feel like the biggest disparity might be with that Oregon defense over the Red Raiders offense.
Yeah, I mean, when I'm looking at this game, I think I go back to the Ohio State-Oregon game, back when they played in this game. Ohio State came out throwing the football and punched Oregon in the mouth before he even got started. And everyone talked about Oregon has to stop the running game of Ohio State. And they came out and they started slinging that ball all over the place. I feel like, I feel like Oregon needs to do the same thing against Texas Tech. They got to come out slinging it, because they have receivers. They have tight ends. They got running backs that can catch out of the backfield. And you got to hit them fast and hit them early. And if you start throwing that football and you have one of the best quarterbacks in the country, okay, that can sling the ball, I'm going with that. And that, I think that's the advantage. And that has to happen quick and fast. And all of a sudden now Texas Tech is trying to reel in, what's going on here? Because Texas Tech's offense, they can move the ball, but when they get to the red zone, they struggle. They don't score touchdowns. They're kicking field goals. And you can't kick field goals and beat Oregon with 3 points. You got to score touchdowns also. So Oregon has to start fast with their offense. And that starts with Dante Moore.
And I think he's 100% right, because this is going to be the litmus test this season for the teams that have buys, right? Because if you look at last year, all 4 teams that had the buys, Oregon, Arizona State, Georgia, and Boise State all lost. And Aaron will point out that a couple of them were underdogs, right? So, but that still, I think, says the fact that they still started slowly. Like all 4 teams started slowly. So if you get this year where all 4 teams that had the buys get jumped on like they did last year, I think that that's going to put coaches in a spot like, whoa, we can't do this. Like we would rather expand to 16 and just play rather than not getting a home game. And then your first game is a neutral site game when you've been off for 25 days. That don't sound real appetizing, right? And if Texas Tech had lost in their conference championship game, Oregon might have had 32 days off. That would have just been, or like 35 days, however many it was. It'd been an insane amount of days. And this is going to be the question. And I think that Newman's right, that you want to jump on Texas Tech early because they are likely to start slow. And if you can get up 14-0, 17-3, 21-3 early, it can be way too much to catch up.
You know, Aaron, I want to go back to that rhythm versus rest conversation because, you know, typically in years past, before we did the playoff format this way, the 2 teams playing each other at this point had the same amount of rests. So it was hard to determine, this team's out of rhythm because both teams were essentially coming in out of rhythm. But I'll tell you this much, man. I haven't called a game in about 2 weeks since Christmas break. I don't even know if I could sit in the chair and call a game right now after 2 weeks. I just feel out of rhythm, so I can't imagine having that much time off and then playing a game of that caliber against a team that was somewhat fresh. But, you know, you still buy into that these teams in the first round are at a disadvantage because they sit so long versus the NFL playoffs where the number 1 seed, you know, it's a typical bye week that they have twice during the season, not this 20 to 30 day break where all of a sudden your rhythm and flow can get thrown off a little bit.
We'll see what happens this season. Last year, to me, all 4 teams that lost were underdogs. 2 of them were underdogs by double digits. I think it was clear that some teams should not have had buys, like Arizona State and Boise probably didn't deserve it, but they were awarded it by a faulty playoff system that must be tweaked. That one was tweaked, and now this one has to tweak to keep the G5s out of there, the way they crashed the party. So, we'll see what happens this season. It clearly can be an issue, but you listen to Texas Tech's coach, Joey McGuire, talk, and he's talking about guys getting healthy. He's talking about guys who are banged up all season, who are now healthy and ready to roll, and that includes their quarterback. Morton came into the season coming off shoulder surgery, injured his leg in a season opener, and then had a hairline fracture, I think, against Kansas. That's what kept him out of the Arizona State game. He said he was out maybe 70% at best. They even said he used a walking boot, not just around, but during practice he would wear a walking boot. Some days he wouldn't even practice to try and keep him healthy. But in the last 20-something days, he's been able to heal up, and now he feels like he's at 80 to 85%.
Sounds good. Sounds good.
Yeah. So I'm saying,
sounds exactly like what Dan Lanning and Kirby Smart were saying last year. Hey, man, we get a chance to get a healthy.
Hey, it matters.
Everything's going to be
matters.
ready. And then you come out and just rock'em sock'em robots.
Flat.
You're like, whoa. What happened?
But again, we don't know. But we can't necessarily prove what caused what. I mean, maybe Ohio State just came out and dialed up some stuff the Ducks weren't ready for. That's why it was 34.
Well, that's why I said they weren't ready. If we have the same thing happen this year, Aaron, can you, who needs more, like enough scientific evidence for like to get the FDA to approve it, would you be willing to say that there's something to the buys if all 4 teams that had buys either lose or start out incredibly slow?
Oh, I think that would definitely add to your argument, 100%. I mean, I wouldn't push back against it. It depends how things go. But I do think in some situations, if you prepare yourself correctly. So, Oregon players have talked about how Lanning had them have because they had 3 weeks off, right, between the end of the season and the JMU game. and they did a simulated game and they prepared differently. Some things people haven't necessarily talked about, but they learned some lessons from last year, and so they approached it a little differently. Now it was James Madison, and they jumped out on them. It was 48-13 at one point in that game, so it's tough to test if that really mattered in terms of how they prepared for that game. But I think there's different ways you can prepare to keep that game edge up. I know nothing's like a true game, but I just can't blame it on the time off last year when the teams that won were favored. But I will say this, if it happens again this year, I'll give you more credence.
Yeah, it's interesting because I still feel if it does happen this year, the solution to this is you got to find a way to make it a home game for these teams that get the first round bye. Then there's really no excuse. I think you would gladly take that much time off if it means you get a home playoff game. So
Yeah.
that's one way to think about it. But big picture, the result of this game here, and let's start with you, George. An Oregon win means what versus an Oregon loss? I mean, is it hard to say, there's always a disappointment in your season potentially ending, but does this kind of feel right about, hey, Oregon achieved what they came out to get? If they don't get this game, this is house money they're playing with? Or is this oh boy, if you don't get this one, you had a golden opportunity
This ain't
here?
how that works. This is not how that works at all. As soon as you get into the tournament, it's just like the NFL playoffs are going to start. Do you think when the Giants won as the 6th seed that anybody was like, oh man, we're just playing with house money? No, when you get in the tournament, all the expectations from the regular season are gone. There's no more reality. It's like we got a chip in a chair. There are 8 teams left. We can beat any one of those 8 teams if we play our best ball. So there is no scenario where a loss is like, I mean, we overachieved. I mean, had James Madison beat Oregon and then get blown out in the second round, yes, they are 100% feeling like that. But there's still a part of them that's like, man, we could have won that one too. It's just like the NCAA tournament. Reality goes out the window once you get further and further along, that now you're hunting for a championship. I cannot see a scenario where Oregon loses and Oregon fans are like, oh man, let's go get them next year. Everything's fine, because everything starts over. You can't guarantee health. You can't guarantee how good the new OC and DC are going to be, how cohesive the team is going to be, any of that. You got to live in the moment.
Okay, I'll answer the question since he didn't answer it. So I'm getting the feeling from a lot of fans, and I say a lot, it's like, social media interaction, if you talk to, that there's no expectation of them winning it all this year. Even coming into the season, they lost so much talent from last year. You had a young quarterback. I mean, yes, redshirt sophomore, but he hadn't started in a couple years and he wasn't that good the first year he started. A bunch of new starters all over the place, obviously. And I think most people came into this season feeling like, hey, let's get to the playoffs and see what happens. But that if Moore comes back next season, which, George, you have said numerous times you think he will. Poncho's coming back already, which is huge for that offensive line. His back's coming back. You got receiver. Like, if he comes back next year, he will be a completely different player than what we saw this year. He will elevate up just like Mariota did. You go look at Mariota's numbers from his redshirt freshman year on up. He got better every single year. He was a different cat each season with that experience. So for me, if they come out and lose this game or lose the next one or whatever, I'm not holding anyone accountable for anything. I'm not blaming anything. I don't think it's a huge disappointment. I think that in what to me was a transition year with so many starters lost, and you can get back to the playoffs, that's a huge accomplishment. Next year, if Dante comes back, that's the year when you say, okay, this kid's going to throw for 37 touchdowns, rush for another 7 or 8. He's going to contend for, if not win the Heisman. That team will be better because he will be better and be more of a problem for opposing defenses to handle.
Anthony.
I think it becomes an old story. The Ducks haven't won a national championship, and they get there. They're close. Okay. And now you get tired of saying, okay, what about next year? What about next year? So it's right. Hey, it's time to go get it done now. And even the players are saying that. And these guys, they weren't playing in the national championship years ago. They were little kids. But we're talking about, as fans watching this and understanding it's time. I don't care what year it is right now, at this day, okay? It's time to win it all. It's time to take it and keep rolling with it. So Texas Tech is in the way. Go take care of business and go to the next one.
You know,
And if you win this game, there's 4 teams left from there. There's no more. Oh, if we lose now, it's fine. No, there's 4 teams left. We got to win 2 games.
The drama intensifies because you get another crack at Indiana potentially if everything holds out true. And, what a remarkable opportunity that would be for Oregon if you could shake that off possibly. So there's a lot of intrigue sitting there behind one of the best defenses and linebackers in the country in Texas Tech. You still got to go out there and perform and get this win in the Orange Bowl for that. But I think to your point, Anthony, you're also right where when Oregon went to the first national championship game, I think everybody was just grateful because it was so hard. It was so hard to just make it in that game. You had to have so much go right during the season. And a lot of times it was out of your control as far as getting to that national championship game. Then you have your hat in the ring for the next 4 or 5 years. You get in again in 5 years with arguably you think maybe your best chance. You lose to Ohio State. It's now been 11 years since then, essentially. And Oregon hasn't even come close to that other than the playoff appearance last year. So while, yes, Aaron, there's certainly a chance to think about, hey, we lost a lot last year. We got a chance to reload next year. I just think the way that everything has to line up, these chances are so few and far between that.
Okay, I mean, go ahead. You done?
Yeah, I'm done.
I mean, you guys can sit here and say championship or bust all you want. It's gonna be bust. So I'm just thinking about the future.
Remind me to never have you with me at the poker table, Aaron.
Hey, I'm telling you. Hey, hold up. I'm telling you, everybody who's watching, that moment right there was caused by last week when I pointed out that Aaron was saying positive things about the Ducks. And then when you go into the comments of the last episode, people are saying, Aaron, what the hell's going on? Blah, blah, blah. That moment right there, that whole, it's going to be bust. That was Aaron back to Aaron. Welcome back, Aaron.
I've been saying all year, I don't think this is the year. I've been
back,
consistent. I've been consistent, but I have hopes for next year. See, y'all gonna be lost next year because if Dante comes back next year, I'm gonna be on that bandwagon.
Same thing.
No.
The window's not open this year, though. I gotta wait until they get 10-2 or 12-0 to figure out the window's open for next year.
So
even though I said next year is going to be better.
We've talked about Aaron's ovens, his windows. I mean, we're going to start talking about the ceiling with him now and the floor. We'll get this whole house covered here, but let's get to this here. I want to hear from each one of y'all the most important aspect of this game, in your opinion, and then give me your prediction. Right now, Oregon's a 2.5-point favorite in essentially a pick'em game with Texas Tech on a neutral site in Miami, which, keep in mind, it's a long way. Ducks don't mind flying south for the winter, don't get me wrong, but it's still a very far away neutral site. Let's go ahead and start with you, Anthony. Your thoughts as far as what's really the key to this game and who you got winning this.
Yeah, the most important factor in this game is for Oregon's offense to protect the ball. You can't turn it over. In Texas Tech, they like takeaways. They lead the country in takeaways. They're going to get the ball, and they're going to try to get the ball and give it back to their offense. So Oregon has to, and again, I said earlier, start fast, but protect that football. If Oregon does that, and they come out fast and they score quick, and I still think rust is an issue. I really do. I think when you sit for a long time, I don't care who you are, you're rusty. It doesn't matter. I think Oregon wins this game 31-24.
Okay, I like it. Fentress.
I think it's not allowing Morton to get going. That kid's pretty good. I mean, really efficient, high completion percentage, only 4 interceptions this year. His receivers, he has 4 guys, a tight end and 3 receivers who are 6'2", 6'2", 6'3", 6'4". All of them have at least 46 catches, at least 5 touchdowns, at least 550 yards. He spreads it around. If he gets rolling with that quick passing game and they get in the red zone, he's got those big targets to work with, that could be trouble in terms of them getting into the high 20s or the low 30s. If they do that, I think their defense can hold on to win. But I'm I'm not going to say they're going to do it, but that to me is the key, is getting that guy disrupted in the pocket, because he's not a runner. He's healthier, so he can move around a little bit more than he has in the past, but he's like negative 87 yards rushing on the season. So he's not a guy who's going to beat you with his legs, but you have to disrupt him in the pocket or he will pick you apart.
So what's your score, Aaron?
Man, I'm going to go Oregon by a field goal. I think it's going to come down to the last couple of minutes, maybe whoever has the ball last, but I think Oregon pulls it out, 23-20, 24-21, something like that.
All right.
But it's going to be dicey.
George.
All right. Here's how this game plays out.
Break it down.
The Oregon Ducks come out. They either get the ball or get a stop on Texas Tech's first drive. And then they go down and score. Ducks go up 7-0. Next drive out, turnover for Texas Tech. Barrett Morton throws the ball to, I'm either going to go Candidate or Thieneman, off of a ricochet, off of a tip.
Wow.
Ducks go up 14-0. Texas Tech, they are a tough team, and they're going to respond. Their backs are going to do a good job. They're going to get to running Cameron Dickey and Ja'Cory Williams. They'll complete a pass to Caleb Douglas, and then they will get stopped in the red zone field goal, 14-3. And so on and so forth as the game goes on. The Ducks win the middle 8 before halftime and after halftime. It'll be 21-6 in some point in time in the third quarter. Texas Tech will score a touchdown. It'll be 21-13. Ducks score again. Now we're 21-24. I'm sorry, 24-13. Texas Tech goes down and scores a touchdown. Ducks score a touchdown. 31.
You lost yourself with all that nonsense. Look, you can't even do the math.
Oh,
you can't even do the math.
The number train is derailing here.
This is the longest.
To 21 because they went for 2. Ducks win by 2 scores. 2 scores.
That was the single most self-indulgent prediction
I
ever.
don't know how I followed.
How was it self-indulgent?
I don't know how I followed the 7-volume edition of the picks from George Wrighster. I'm going to go this way. I think Oregon's play calling is going to be very important. How do you negate that front 7 for Texas Tech with the way that you distribute the ball and not just try to keep it vanilla up the middle? I think Oregon wins by automaticus, 24-21. Oh, actually, sorry, 27-24. Oregon scores a field goal on their final drive.
Automatic is kick, bro. I refuse. Ever since the Penn
Don't
State
look.
game.
Then don't look. Don't look.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. Iowa. I refuse. I do not look. I will not watch him kick. It's something crazy if it doesn't work.
I love it. I love it. Well, that's going to do it for this edition of Talkin Ducks. Thanks again for joining us. Thanks for hanging in there with me. Oregon versus Texas Tech in the Orange Bowl. We'll give you our recap and possibly set the stage for a semifinal appearance for the Ducks next week. Until then, take care and enjoy the game.